is Renaldo with Kentucky Kids on the Block, and I'm here with Delaire Rowe, and she is the Director for Arts for all Kentucky, and she is going to read me a book today.
Hi, Renaldo.
Hi.
The book I brought with me today is called A Picture Book of Louis Braille.
Braille.
Yes.
Yeah, I know about Braille.
And it's by David Adler and illustrated by John and Alexandra Wallner.
Oh, cool.
Louis Braille was born on January 4th, 1809 in Coupvray, a small hillside village near Paris, France.
Ooh.
Louis's father was Simone Rene Braille, a saddle maker. His mother was Monique Baron Braille. Louis was the youngest of their 4 children.
Oh, wow, 4 kids. Okay.
Yes. The Brailles lived in a 3-room stone house. The food they ate came mostly from their small farm and vineyard. Across the yard, Simone Rene had his shop with a large workbench, many pieces of leather, mallets, sharp knives, and pointed awls. While his father worked, Louis played nearby with small leftover scraps of leather. One summer day, while his father was outside with a customer, 3-year-old Louis went into the shop. He took one of the sharp pointed tools he had seen his father use. Louis played with it, imitating what he had seen his father do so often. But the tool slipped and cut his eye.
Oh, no!
Yes, Louis screamed. His parents ran to him. They cleaned away the blood and bandaged his eye.
Oh, man, that must have really hurt.
The Brailles took Louis to an old woman who was considered a healer. She put lily water on the wound. Then the Brailles took Louis to a doctor. But there was nothing anyone could do to save the eye. It became infected. The infection spread to the other eye, and within a short while, Louis Braille was blind.
Oh, wait, like me, I'm blind. Yeah.
Louis had to learn again how to feed himself and how to walk without bumping into things. Louis's father made him a cane.
Ooh, like mine. I've got a cane too.
Yes. Louis used it to tap the ground in front of him to make sure the path was clear. And when Louis walked somewhere, he counted his steps.
Ooh, yeah, I do that too.
He remembered how many there were for his way back. In his now completely dark world, Louis became more aware of sounds, smells, and the shape and feel of things.
Yeah.
He learned to distinguish the different sounds people made when they walked.
Yeah, I know when my mom's coming because her shoes sound a little bit different. She wears like those high heel boots.
He often knew who was coming to the house by the sound their cart made when the wheels rolled over the cobblestone path. In the early 1800s, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
France was at war. The French Emperor Napoleon had sent huge armies to fight across Europe and in Russia. At first, they were victorious, but by 1814, the French armies had been defeated and were hurrying back home. In April 1814, enemy Russian soldiers invaded Coupvray and demanded to be housed and fed. For the next 2 years, many Russian soldiers passed through the Braille's house. It must have been frightening for young Louis to live with strangers he could neither see nor understand.
Yeah, because they would speak a different language, right?
Yes. In 1815, a new priest, Jacques Poulouet, came to Coupray. He became Louis's first teacher. He taught Louis the Bible. He taught him to recognize animals by their sounds and flowers by their feel and smell.
Oh, yes, I love the smell of flowers.
Do you have a favorite flower?
Well, roses have a pretty good smell.
I like them too.
Mm-hmm.
Louis's father hammered round-tipped upholstery nails into a board to form letters. Louis felt the heads of the nails and learned the alphabet. His father then taught him how to combine letters to form words.
Oh, yeah, like Braille. Oh, I bet that's where Braille came from because, well, that's the name of their last name, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
This is a true story. This is history.
Wow. Cool.
The next year, a new schoolmaster, Antoine Bercheret, came to Couvray. It was unusual for a blind child to attend school, but Louis was especially smart, and Antoine Bercheret was anxious to teach him. Louis could only learn by listening. He couldn't read books the way other children could. Nonetheless, he had a good memory and was an excellent student.
Well, it's really sad that kids who were blind couldn't go to school before.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you like school?
I do like school. Mm-hmm.
In February 1819, Louis was sent to Paris to live and study at the National Institute for Blind Children. It was the world's first school for the blind, founded in 1784 by Valentin Rowe.
Mm-hmm.
When Louis came to the school, it was in a bleak 5-story building with metal bars on the windows. 30 years earlier, during the days of the French Revolution, the building had been a prison.
Oh.
Louis Braille would live at the school for the rest of his life.
Wow, school for life? Oh, I like school, but I don't know if I like it that much.
There were books at the Institute for Louis to read. They had raised letters he could feel. The letters were large. The books were big and heavy. Tracing each letter with his fingertips was a slow process. He had to be sure to distinguish between a P and an R, an E and an F. But at last, Louis was reading.
Mm-hmm.
There were craft and music classes and regular lessons in history, geography, mathematics, Latin, and grammar. Louis especially loved music. He had a real talent for it and learned to play the piano, organ, violin, and cello.
Wow, that's pretty talented.
Beginning in 1834, Louis played the organ in a few Paris churches.
Oh.
In 1821, Louis Braille was taught sonography, night writing, a code of raised dots and dashes. It had been invented by Charles Barbier, a captain in the French army, so soldiers could read messages in the dark without lighting a lamp. The soldiers could feel the messages.
Mm-hmm.
Louis Braille was excited by sonography. There was no code for numbers or punctuation marks. Sonography was a phonetic system with symbols for every sound, but not every letter.
Oh.
So Louis could not spell with it.
That's what he's going to invent, huh?
I think you're catching on to where this story is leading.
Yep.
Louis began to experiment with his own code. He worked on it late at night after his classmates were asleep. He worked on it early in the morning, too, before classes. In 1824, Louis Braille demonstrated his system to Dr. André Pignet, a school principal, or the school principal.
Mm-hmm.
Louis Braille's code used raised dots in 2 rows of 3 dots each, like the 6 dots on a domino. He found 33 different combinations, enough for each letter of the alphabet, punctuation marks, numbers, and math signs. Later, he developed a raised dot system for musical notes. Braille's new system was much easier to learn and read than sonography. In 1825, Louis Braille and his friend Gabriel Gautier had made the first Braille writing board. Now Louis, Gabriel, and other blind people could write too. In 1826, Louis Braille was made an assistant and 2 years later a full teacher at the National Institute. He taught mathematics, geography, grammar, and music. While other teachers at the school punished children who did not understand their lessons, Louis Braille was kind and gentle.
He sounds like a really nice guy and smart too.
Yeah. At first, many sighted people were against switching to Braille's new system. Adopting the new code would be expensive. It would mean new books would have to be produced for the blind. Sighted people had no problem with the old raised letter system. They could read it easily and saw no need for change. The National Institute still used the old raised letter books, but on their own. The students tried Louis's new system. They loved it. Dr. Penier wanted to adopt it at the school. He felt it should become France's official writing code for the blind. But the directors of the National Institute were against it. In 1840, when they found out the school was using books printed in Braille, they forced Dr. Penier to leave the National Institute. Sighted people were not learning Braille's 6-dot system. The blind could not write to them. So in 1839, Louis Braille invented a system called raphiography. Forming the shapes of letters using raised dots, blind people could feel the letters. Sighted people could see them. While Louis Braille worked on his codes, he continued to teach. But in the middle of the lessons, he often had to stop. He was having coughing fits. By 1835, his cough developed into tuberculosis, a deadly disease in the 1800s. At times, he was too weak to teach. He often went home to Vouvray to breathe the clean country air and to rest. Then, late in 1851, Louis Braille became gravely ill. From his bed, he told his friends, "I am convinced my mission on earth is completed." He died on January 6, 1852, just after his 43rd birthday. The accomplishments of Louis Braille were not widely known in 1852. But by the end of the century, his 6-dot code, known simply as Braille, was applied to many languages and was in use around the world. Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf, called Louis Braille a genius with godlike courage and a heart of gold. She wrote that Braille made it a pleasure for me to read. The world around me shone afresh with treasures. She wrote that Louis Braille built a large, firm stairway for millions of sense-crippled human beings to climb from hopeless darkness to the mind eternal. That's very inspirational, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, this is just the author's note here at the end. Today, with proper treatment, Louis Braille's eye injury would not result in blindness. Today, there are also medicines to successfully treat tuberculosis, the disease that killed Louis Braille. Louis Braille first experimented with dots and dashes. When he noticed it was easier to feel just dots, he dropped the dashes. In 1952, on the 100th anniversary of Louis Braille's death, his remains were moved to the Parthenon in Paris.
Oh.
He was laid to rest there among other great French heroes. And that's the end. At the end of this book, there's the example of Braille alphabet here that you can actually feel.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, wow. You know, I've learned to read Braille pretty well, and I never really thought about where it came from. Thank you so much for sharing that wonderful book with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me, because, you know, I really learned a lot, too, by reading this book to you.
Yeah.
So I brought a little something else for us to do.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Louis Braille couldn't see, so he had to use his sense of touch in order to read Braille. And so we're going to use our sense of touch today to do a short little art project.
Okay.
What I have here are they're called pipe cleaners.
Oh.
And sometimes,
yeah, pipe cleaners. Yeah, they're fuzzy.
Have you ever used them before?
Yeah, I use them in art class sometimes.
Did you? Well, I made some, like, these little people, like this, these little people, and let me give you one of them here. They're different. Each pipe cleaner has a different color, and the little person that you're holding is green. I have one that's blue, and another one here that's yellow, that's red.
Oh.
So we're going to make one of these little people here today, and I'm going to leave you some pipe cleaners so you can make these little people, or you can just make anything really that you like.
Ooh, that's neat.
This is a little different than drawing a picture because a picture's flat, but with the pipe cleaner we can make something that's three-dimensional.
Yeah, something we can touch and feel.
Yes. So what I'm going to do here is the first thing will be to fold this in half. Would you like to feel how I folded it in half?
Oh, yes. Okay. All the way in half, right? The
half.
ends, the other ends. Yeah, okay. So all the way in half. The ends are even on the bottom, right? Okay.
And I'm going to, where it bends over at the top, I'm going to pinch it and twist it so you can feel how that is.
Oh, yeah.
pinched.
Okay. It kind of makes like a loop at the top.
Yes.
Okay.
That's going to be our little person's head.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's two pieces that are kind of sticking out here. I'm going to bend those a little bit, one on each side, and then twist it. So I'll make his arms and begin to make his body. Let me let you touch that now so that it feels like this.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There's an arm, another arm. Okay.
Now these could be legs. Those could be
Whoa.
like really long
legs.
But if those are too long, we can make them shorter. And just I'm going to twist that to give him a torso, and then I'm going to bend up the little legs.
To make them shorter, right?
Make them shorter. So
Oh,
you can see
yeah,
how
that
I just
seems-
like bent this and put it over like
Oh,
that.
yeah. That seems more, proportional. Did I say that right?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Now you could bend these and make like little feet there.
Oh, yeah.
And they might even be able to stand up. There's one that's standing up. See if this can make this one stand up too. This one I made before has big feet. Well, The thing is, you can just play with these,
I guess they're all different, just like all of us people. We're all different, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
We're all different. And we could even make them look like they're holding hands, maybe standing next to each other, holding hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm doing this down on the table, but like I said, you can make these any way you like. You can make the little people, or you can make other things.
Ooh, I think it would be cool to make like a family and try to make their dog too.
That's a good idea.
Well, thank you so much for coming by and reading and doing this art project. It was a lot of fun, and I really learned a lot too.
You're so welcome.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Bye!